We're here with head coach Mike Clark after another big win for the Eagles down at Hampton-Sydney. You had talked about wanting to see how your team would respond, maybe to getting punched to going down. You did go down for the first time all season. It was only 7-6, I think, on a first drive where I'm sure they had some design plays. It looked like you were maybe rushing three, against a quarterback that had made some mistakes. So I certainly never felt the game was in jeopardy, but you did go behind and your team, responded great, and they were up 34-7 by halftime.
Well, I think what happened, which was, give Hampton-Sydney credit, they had about 3 chances in that first half to kind of stay right in that game, and I really do think, we had an answer each time. I think, the turnovers that the defensive got when they tried to push the ball down the field, and you go back, and is Hampton-Sydney struggling right now? Yes, they are a little bit, but by the same token, that's not an offense that has probably been held to under 200 yards in a long, long time, at least as far as my memory can go back. And, the big thing we were able to do defensively, they have 2 excellent receivers. They do have a senior quarterback that had a strong arm, but, we went the entire game and did not give them explosion play. Their longest play was 16 yards. They hit a little 16-yard corner route on that first drive. But other than that, it was just we made them check the ball off. We were going to force them to run the football and then rally and tackle. I think on the opposite side of the ball, with explosion plays being the biggest variable in terms of who wins or loses, we had 12 plays of more than 20 yards on offense. 12 plays, and that's not counting the fake field goal and the block kick that those factor into momentum plays, as we call them in the kicking game. So I think we did the things good teams do to win on the road. We were secure with the football, and they're still Hampton-Sydney. And I can still remember many years ago, as you and I talked in the pregame, is that it means a lot to people at Bridgewater to go down and beat them like that in a place we hadn't won. But
we had a lot of alums excited.
A lot of alums. But I also will say this: my challenge to the team is that we've gotten to the point where we've gotten because we had to dump some bad baggage. There were some things that we were dealing with a couple of years ago, or matter of fact, a year ago. Our 7 a.m. Monday meeting, I said, where were we a year ago? We were coming off our second straight conference loss where we had turned the ball over 9 times in 2 games, 21-point loss to Hampton-Sydney. So what a difference a year makes. But I think part of being a good team is you got to dump baggage. Sometimes that baggage is bad. And right now we've got some good baggage, but we got to dump it and go out and renew it again here on Saturday.
Yeah, you're coming back home to face Ferrum. They're 1-2 in the ODAC, but those 2 losses coming against W&L and Macon certainly look like 2 of the strongest teams. They have a very good running back in Brian Mann. What are some of the things you're looking for that match?
Well, I think we have to go out and understand that, Ferrum's played, their front-end schedule was very strong. They lost to a 5-1 Averett team, if I'm not mistaken. The only team that Averett's lost to has been Randolph-Macon. And their front-end schedule on the ODAC was tough. They also had to play... They didn't have their tailback for the W&L game. They didn't have their quarterback for the Randolph-Macon game. So they had to go in down 2 pretty important cards against 2 pretty good teams. And I think anytime you play Ferrum, you got a team that's going to have a lot of team speed. I think anytime you can run and you have a football team that has that, you're going to be dangerous. And it'll be a big challenge for our kids. But what we're trying to stay focused on, we're still a week-to-week team. We're blessed that we've won the games that we did. The people around us a lot of times want to talk big picture, but I think our kids and our coaches have tried to do a good job of focusing on the small picture, and that's managing the detail they're going to have to use to beat Ferrum. They're going to bring a senior quarterback in here that has experience, that they got a lot of mileage out of, and the idea being that they're going to be fast people chasing us on both sides of the ball.
Last year when you won at Ferrum, you got a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown in the second half. You've had, I believe, 3 of those already this season, including 1 last week. How important can those plays be?
I think they're tough to overcome. I think many times, many years ago when I was at Virginia Tech, we did a study, and we found out that if you have a defensive score or a special team score, what your percentage was of winning. And I want to say it was in the 70s, and that was many years ago. I don't know what the data shows right now. But I think anytime you can create offense when you're not on offense, that helps the equation. I think mentally it helps the equation. I thought, which our offense has done a nice job. That sequence right at the end of the half down at Hampton-Sydney was a great one. They were in plus score territory. They're inside the 30. Joe Caron intercepts a pass. We have an offense that punches the ball out from the 5-yard line. And at that time, I told Coach Lem, look, this is a 3-score game. Let's just get out of here and punt it, knowing that they were going to get the ball to start the second half, and our offense did much more than that. Put us in position where we faked a field goal, and you had really every phase of the team contributed, and then really had a team limping off the field at halftime that deep down everybody knew probably in that stadium that a lot of people didn't come back in that second half, that it was only going to be a matter of how much.
And last question, since you are 5-0, how exciting will that be to come back? We got 3 big home games coming up: homecoming, then the Randolph-Macon game, and then senior day. And there should be a big crowd given the success the team has had.
Well,
so
I
far.
think we're just focusing on the homecoming game, which happens to be Ferrum, going back to my first point. And it is. I'm excited that I can come home. And so it's been a while since I've said I have an undefeated football team playing at homecoming. You know, homecoming's a big event here. It's a Saturday that the place buzzes. You know, not just about our game, but about all the events and all the other teams that are playing. And you know, it's one of those deals. If you want to think football, there's a great world of athletics. It isn't on ESPN. Show up to Bridgewater on Saturday, and you're going to see it across multiple fields.